Hi,
Hello,
I'm Olivia.
I'm Taylor.
It's been a while. It's now May,
hmm
and the last time we made a video probably was early on in my spring semester.
Yeah,
And why we haven't made anything is because it's been we were busier.
yeah.
I
Trips, your schooling,
My school was really,
finishing up our school semester of teaching.
but we're still teaching. But my spring semester at my university has ended. That's why pretty much why we're back. And over the Easter holiday at the end this year of April, no,
hmm
kind of early to mid April,
Yeah,
we went on a trip for Holy Week. Since we're living in Spain and since we're from the United States, we thought we'd share a little bit about our trip for
yeah.
conversation today. So, this conversation is about our Holy Week Easter trip in Spain.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank
Yeah.
you.
The weather's been really great here the last week, so yeah,
It's a
everything's
whole
really good.
other conversation to be had would be the weather we've experienced
Yeah.
since March, but we'll slide right past that. So, where did we go for Holy Week?
So for Holy Week slash Easter, we went to, I think, one of the most famous places uh, to celebrate Easter or to enjoy Easter is the region of Andalucía.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we kind of passed through Almeria. I'm pretty sure I probably said that wrong, but uh, Granada, Cordoba, and Sevilla.
And that it was your first time in all those places.
Yes, my first time. Yes.
I'd been to Granada and Sevilla. I'd never been to Cordoba, so that I was looking forward to that. And since for me it had been 10 years, it was still amazing to visit Granada and Sevilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to start by talking about kind of since we live in Murcia, how it was, like what transportation to Almeria?
So we took a combination of buses and trains. Um, I think if anybody has a chance to take a bus to coming from the east side of Spain to Granada, you pass through, I think it's the
Nevada.
Sierra Nevada, and it is one of the most interesting and striking um, images, striking landscapes. Not only that, but eventually you come to a mountain, and this was in April, and the mountain was, I mean, when I say it's a mountain, and it was covered in snow. Um, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about Granada. But the bus trip, that specific bus trip, was really worth it. Really sticks out in my mind images of the rocky landscape. Um, yeah, it was really, really cool.
So we spent a night in Almeria
Yeah,
very fast. Got out for a little bit, but it doesn't. I don't feel like it really counts.
yeah, like 3 hours.
And then we went to Granada.
Mm-hmm.
We found a neat Airbnb room that was decorated in Moroccan style.
Yeah,
And if you've ever been to Granada, or if you make it there, you'll understand why they particularly picked that theme. Not only being in the south of Spain and the influence here, and the kind of fusion of cultures.
yeah,
But you'll see that in Granada still today there is very much a Moorish presence in the architecture,
mm-hmm.
in Moroccan people who live there, and
yeah.
in the food, in the teas, in the shops. And what did you like in Granada?
The Alhambra is really cool, really well preserved. I've never been to any place so far that has Moorish or people from that area of the world, that culture. So it was the first time I saw things like that. Um, Another thing that I really liked about Granada was the mountain looming in the distance. No matter where you are, you can catch glimpses of it, and it makes the whole city feel old for some reason, picturesque. I really enjoyed Granada.
I was thinking as you were talking, I think people who travel talk about Granada and they say, oh, you've got to see the Alhambra. And I would maybe then question, so what's something that people don't bring up, people don't necessarily always say with Granada, because they might mention the tapas, how it's really affordable, or it's kind of has a reputation, Granada, as being a place where you can go get a drink and get a tapa, get a drink and get a tapa. We didn't really get to take advantage of that aspect,
Yeah.
being vegan, and just by the places we chose to eat, but we still ate some good food.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe the river. I liked walking along the river. I liked the views, and I'd say kind of the mountainside with the caves.
Yeah.
I think Granada is more. I think La Alhambra it's amazing and
Yeah.
beautiful, and part of going through there, you will have the views that you see within Granada. But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more to see there, and I think sometimes those things don't always get mentioned.
Yeah. And that was the first time we caught a glimpse of any of the thronos, which
Right.
are the processions. And as Americans, seeing the robed people in the processions is a little weird,
Mm-hmm.
because as Americans, we
Associate that outfit and the hat, the robe.
with something much worse, and not as much of a celebration when you see
We
them.
associate it with images from films, from books, from history of the United States with the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK.
Yeah,
So for us, it's associated with racism
yeah,
and a very, very dark contemporary and historic past within the United
Yeah.
States. But here, especially during Holy Week, it's a very, I would say, celebrated image.
yeah.
It has a very different meaning.
During the day, they're impressive, but there's something about seeing them at night, if you're ever able to see the processions at night, because not only do the people in the robes have candles, but the tronos are usually filled with candles, and seeing them move through the city lit up like that is very striking. I keep using that word.
Mm-hmm.
A striking image.
It's a very sensory. I don't know exactly how you say it, but it's calling on the different senses. So you have.
Yeah.
We still need to look into this, whether it's myrrh or what it is, but
Yeah.
You have some incense burning, like you would in, I believe, a Catholic church service or
Yeah.
mass. You have maybe the fact that it's night and the light of the candles. You might have the sound of the band playing music. You might have silence, as people have even shushed
Yes.
the last talkers, because in that city, maybe it's more common to be quiet as the procession comes through. You have the onlookers, the maybe really faithful, maybe locals who are part of this or are spectators every year.
Yeah.
You have the Spaniards who are sitting on a folding chair and eating their sunflower seeds and have their drink. And it's almost, we called it kind of like in the United States tailgating, because people set up for a couple hours.
Yeah, you touched on it. I was going to also bring up how some groups of people will all shush each other, really, and to be in a group of people of, you're talking about hundreds of people, and how they can all be quiet as this trono moves past, with the Virgin Mary or Jesus
Even
on
the
top.
sound of the people carrying the trono, which I believe are almost all men, the sound of their feet moving.
Yeah, it's really worth seeing.
Okay, so I would definitely, one of my questions was, what experience was unique, and that's one that came to mind.
Yes.
But we might bring up others. So the processions, the parades, I think it's more fair to say these are processions where they're carrying statues on these large, sort of almost like a canopy bed at times, set up that they have, and they're carrying them on their shoulders. I remember walking around, I think it was in Cordoba, and seeing the backs of these men's neck and them having almost like, I don't think you'd call it a boil, but this raised red, very hard to look at sort of thing. So maybe a really tough task.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Cordoba. We had one day of rain.
Yeah.
But we liked Cordoba.
Yeah.
I'd say we had a really unique eating experience in the sense that we are big salmorejo fans, which is a creamier, garlicier version of gazpacho.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever had, gazpacho in the United States or where you're from. So we were really thrilled to, I think, have the best bowl of salmorejo that we've ever had.
Yeah.
What else?
We saw the Mezquita Cathedral, and that is really cool inside to see the different styles of architecture, all mishmashed in one place is really interesting. Again, the Christianity and the Muslim and the Jewish religions all kind of mashed into one place was really interesting to see.
I thought the streets of Cordoba were quite charming.
Yeah.
It was the first, you read about in the south of Spain, the white towns of Spain. It was the first place where I saw predominantly, you'll see chunks of it in Granada, but I don't, when we were on the ground there, I don't think in the city of like the white.
Yeah.
In Granada, in Cordoba, very white with a yellow trim.
Yeah.
And the patios, it was the first place where, and the last, I felt like it had the most patios where the houses have this, there's a door to it or a gate, but this internal square where there might be a fountain. They're often cool, lots of plants, and they're either free or you can pay to go in. So some we got to peek in, some we didn't go in. Yeah. But that was unique.
Yeah, that was unique. Some had shops.
Yes.
Inside of them, so there were different degrees of setups, I guess, within these patios.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Cordoba. I think they had a alcázar that I really liked.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed with Cordoba.
Yeah.
But then we'll move on to Sevilla because we have little time left, and that was a big chunk of our trip. We got there and we still had maybe 5 days. Yeah. We are now familiar with these processions during the day, during the night, the crowds. We've come to the biggest, between Cordoba, Granada, Sevilla, we've come to the biggest city of all.
Yes.
The first evening we're there, huge crowds everywhere you and I tried to go.
In the evening, yes. It was really great to get out in the mornings. We were able to do more sightseeing, but then getting anywhere in the evenings at night was really difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But still enjoyable because we kind of wanted it at the same time.
Yes.
We wanted to see the processions. We weren't following any
Yes.
schedule. So whenever we ran into them, we were okay with it.
Yeah, that's something I
For
would
the most
tell.
part.
I would tell anybody who is going to these places during this week. You don't have to plan your time around these processions.
You'll run into them.
You'll run into them. You'll see plenty
Yeah.
of the processions.
Yeah. So in Sevilla, we had a really nice Airbnb.
Yeah.
Again, we got a room in a shared apartment. What do you remember from Sevilla?
The downtown area is very impressive, as well as Plaza de España. I don't think anything, when you're talking about one specific area or one specific place, I don't think anything matched Plaza de España for the entire trip. It's just very interesting. The architecture is interesting. The area is so grand, almost grandiose. And the thing that I was surprised by is it's not very old. It's not even 100 years old.
What do we read, the 1930s?
1930s, I want to say 36.
Okay.
But I would have expected it to be much older.
Yeah. I would say that one of the most unique experiences now thinking about it would have been the different flamenco shows that we ran into in Sevilla.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that we ran into them.
Yeah.
And just, a reminder slash,
Yeah.
motivating you as well. If you're ever in Sevilla and you stumble upon one, I would recommend highly
Yeah.
sitting down, taking the show, but also giving some money as a contribution
Yeah.
out of respect and because you just got
Yeah.
to witness an art that is practiced. And since we did that, I didn't make a reservation, but I knew that was such a unique experience that
Yeah.
if we hadn't done that, I would have made a reservation somewhere for us to go see a flamenco
Yeah.
show.
I would say if they, I don't know if they are there every night, but we were able to see the same troupe group at Plaza de España. So I felt like that was the best in the sense that you saw these wonderful surroundings. It was sunset, the sun was going down, and we got to watch them dance, and I thought they were wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you're able to check that area out to see if they're playing and contribute, because it is really nice.
I think there's a lot to see in Sevilla. Before you said fries, I almost forgot about Plaza de España. I was thinking of the mushrooms, macetas, the mushrooms.
Yes.
However, now, I'm thinking of the street with the different bars that we were on where we sat and had a drink.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called.
It was the something of Hercules.
Oh.
The Pillars of Hercules.
Okay. But also the numerous streets that kind of wind around the cathedral.
Yeah.
Where we started to see the signs where I was like, okay, orange wine, chamomile wine, I want to try those things.
Yeah.
There, Sevilla, there's a lot to do and a lot to see.
Oh, and the Alcazaba is, you could get lost in there for a half a day.
Yeah. We almost had a moment where I had a moment where I just got overwhelmed because we had the reservation to see the cathedral afterwards.
Yes.
And I thought we weren't going to have enough time. I was just getting mad because this place, there's so much to see.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful now. Looking back, I'm like, I was being ridiculous. But I was literally like getting super temper tantrum.
Yeah. When you leave the palace portion and you go into the gardens are enormous and they're wonderful. All three of the places we went in Andalucía had an Alcazaba with the gardens, and they were all really worth visiting.
Mm-hmm.
Granada
or Alcazaba?
I
have to check.
I think they're interchangeable sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, what was your favorite place, Taylor?
I think it was Granada, because I felt like overall with the mountains hanging over you, and the different elevations and the different viewpoints and the Alhambra. And that was the first time I saw the Tronos, so I think there was some wonder and
The
amazement.
first time you saw the procession.
Yes. I think that was my favorite.
What was the best food experience you had? That's a tough one because we're big foodies.
Yeah.
And we try to go big on our trips.
Well,
we try to budget at home.
What was yours?
The Cordoba one with the salmorejo stands out because it was the best salmorejo I've had. And
we were dipping the fried eggplant
in it.
Yeah.
We also really liked a vegan place called Vegani in Sevilla.
Yes.
I had a delicious vegan cold yogurt. She said it wasn't
Ajo
frozen.
Blanco at Enano Verde.
Yes. And Enano Verde was good.
Yeah.
We had these crab meatballs, vegan crab meatballs.
Yeah.
It's hard to choose. We'll just
Yes.
leave it at that.
Yes.
Would you skip anything if you could go back? Was there anything that we saw that wasn't really worth it? Or
I don't think so. I wish.
he would skip the chamomile wine.
Yeah. Chamomile wine is
We both would
disgusting.
recommend the orange wine.
Yes. From
Sevilla.
Sevilla.
With the Sevilla oranges.
Yeah.
Any of the liqueurs.
Very
I mean,
good.
the vermouth was good. I think there was a tangerine.
There's a nice sweetness to all of them.
We liked them.
Yeah.
He was not so hot on the chamomile wine.
No.
And all the beers we tried, were there any beers that we didn't?
The Cruz Campo, which I think is from Sevilla, was hoppier than beer usually is in Spain. I like beer, so I make a point of trying to taste all the beers in the places they're made on tap. So I tried Cruz Campo in Sevilla. I tried Alhambra in Granada. I think that was it. But most of the beer in Spain is very mellow. It's not very bitter, and I like that. Cruz Campo had a little more of a IPA towards that, not as bitter as an IPA, but
We'll
bitter,
just do a
bitter
whole
rum.
episode on beer.
Yeah.
And we also actually ended up throwing one day in to our trip at the end. We added a day in Murcia, and I think we should do an episode about Bando de la Huerta.
Yeah. And
Since we are now proud
the other day
Murcianos.
Yeah.
And we'll explain, yeah. So that's where we'll leave it for today.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.
See ya.